He found a bloodied cleaner behind a locked supply room door, and the first thing she begged him was not to call security. In a city where glass towers shine brighter than the neighborhoods they cast shadows on, Lena Hart had learned how to disappear. She cleaned offices after midnight, paid bills before buying groceries, and swallowed fear because her little brother needed the lights kept on. But that night inside Monarch Tower, fear had a name: Brent. And when Adrian DeLuca, the hidden owner with a mafia bloodline and a past carved in silence, heard that HR already knew something colder than rage woke inside him. This is not just a story about revenge. It is about power survival and the price of being believed. Watch until the end, like this video, and comment where you're watching from. That one sentence stayed in the air longer than the smell of bleach, longer than the rain tapping the black windows of Monarch Tower. HR already knew. Adrian DeLuca did not move at first. He stood just outside the supply room, his boots planted on the polished concrete, his maintenance jacket hanging loose over shoulders that had carried heavier secrets than any building file could hold. The light above Lena Hart flickered again, cutting her face into pieces. Bruised cheek, split lip, eyes too tired to beg and too proud to collapse. She sat on the floor with one arm wrapped around her ribs like she was trying to keep herself from falling apart in front of a stranger. Adrian had seen men die without fear in their eyes. He had seen men lie while bleeding through their teeth. He had seen his father smile at funerals and call it respect. But the way Lena looked toward the hallway was different. She was not afraid of pain. She was afraid of being found. He lowered his voice. "Lena." Her eyes snapped back to him. "You do not have to tell me everything right now." Her fingers tightened around the handkerchief he had given her. "That is what they always say before they ask for everything." The words were quiet, but they landed clean. Adrian accepted them. He had no right to be offended by the truth. Behind him, the empty corridor stretched into blue shadow. Offices slept behind glass walls. Conference rooms sat neat and silent, their long tables wiped clean, their leather chairs tucked in their trash cans, emptied by people like Lena after the powerful had gone home. Monarch Tower looked holy from the outside. 46 floors of black glass chrome and money rising over Baltimore Harbor. At sunrise, its windows caught the light like a blade. At night, it became a mirror for every city street it towered above. Lena had cleaned that mirror for 3 years. No one had ever seen her in it. She was 28, though most nights made her feel older. Her apartment sat in Highlandtown on the second floor of a narrow brick building with a broken buzzer and a stairwell that smelled of laundry soap, old wood, and fried onions from the family downstairs. She shared it with her younger brother Noah, who was 17 and too clever for his own silence. Noah pretended not to notice when Lena skipped dinner and said she had eaten at work. Lena pretended not to notice him noticing. That was how they loved each other. Carefully, quietly, without adding more weight to what the other already carried. Their mother had died 2 years earlier after a sickness that took its time. Some illnesses came like storms. Hers came like debt. Slow, official, stamped, signed, and impossible to ignore. First came missed shifts, then hospital parking fees, then prescriptions, then collection letters, then the kind of tiredness that settled into a home and changed the sound of every room. Their father was a photograph in an old cookie tin and a name Lena had stopped saying out loud. Before all of that, Lena had taken accounting classes at Baltimore City Community College. She loved numbers because numbers did not pretend. They did not soften their voice and call a lie a misunderstanding. They did not smile across a desk and ask if you were sure about what you had seen. Numbers either added up or they did not. Lena's life had stopped adding up the year her mother got sick. She traded textbooks for cleaning gloves. Tuition became rent. Morning classes became overnight shifts. Her dream folded itself into the back pocket of her uniform, small enough to carry, too fragile to touch. At Monarch Tower, she worked from 10 at night until 6 in the morning. She pushed a gray cart through halls where the carpet swallowed footsteps. She emptied bins under framed degrees, wiped fingerprints from glass doors, scrubbed coffee rings from conference tables, and vacuumed offices that cost more per month than her apartment did in a year. The people upstairs knew her only as a uniform moving at the edge of their vision. A woman with a cart, a badge, a name they did not bother to read. But invisible people learned things. They learned which executives drank before board meetings, which married men removed their rings before late dinners, which lawyers shredded documents in panic, which managers shouted at assistants, then walked into charity galas with soft hands and clean smiles. Lena learned the tower by its secrets. She learned which cameras worked and which ones blinked dead. She learned which stairwells smelled like cigarettes. She learned which offices stayed lit after midnight and which men waited until the halls emptied before becoming themselves. Brent Holloway had been one of those men. He was 42, senior facilities supervisor, broad, through the chest-square jaw, blue eyes that looked friendly only when other men were watching. During the day, he slapped shoulders, joked with executives, called older women sweetheart, and made maintenance crews laugh louder than they wanted to. At night, his smile changed. It became private, hungry, lazy with power. Lena had disliked him from the first week he learned her name. Not because he had shouted. He rarely shouted. Not because he had threatened her. Not then. Because he watched. He watched the young cleaners bend to change trash liners. He watched women walk away after he said something low enough for only them to hear. He watched the hallway behind them, always checking who was near enough to matter. Most people in the cleaning crew hated him quietly. Lena hated him honestly. 3 months before the supply room on a Thursday night near the end of October, the upper floors still smelled of a private dinner. Steak fat, red wine, cigar smoke clinging to expensive wool coats. Someone had spilled bourbon on the carpet outside conference room D, and the stain had dried into the shape of a dark flower. Lena was tired enough to feel every bone in her feet. Her phone buzzed twice in her back pocket. Noah. She knew without looking. He was probably asking where the cereal was, even though it was always in the cabinet above the stove. That annoyed her in the small, safe way ordinary life annoyed people. A brother asking about cereal. A sink full of dishes. A bus running late. She missed that kind of annoyance later. She was pushing her cart past the conference rooms when she heard crying. At first she stopped out of habit, not alarm. People cried in office buildings more than anyone wanted to admit. They cried in bathrooms, stairwells, dark copy rooms, executive suites after phone calls from doctors or spouses or banks. Lena had learned to give people privacy unless the crying sounded trapped. This sounded trapped. It came from behind the frosted glass door of conference room D. Then a man's voice followed. Low, tight, angry. Lena's hands closed around the cart handle. She knew that voice. "Don't act stupid, Tessa." Lena's stomach turned. Tessa Monroe had been on the night crew only 6 weeks. 19 years old. Soft voice. Pink keychain clipped to her bag. She sent money to her grandmother in Delaware and smiled like she was apologizing for taking up space. Brent had started giving her special assignments on upper floors 2 weeks earlier. Lena had noticed. Gloria Bell had noticed too. Gloria noticed everything. Lena moved closer to the door. Tessa's voice came thin and shaking. "Please, Brent, just let me leave." The words did something to Lena's body before her mind caught up. Heat climbed her throat. Her fingers found the radio clipped to her belt. She opened the door. Conference room D was lit by the city outside and one lamp near the credenza. Plates from the dinner still sat at one end of the table, silverware crossed over white napkins, wine glasses smeared with lipstick and fingerprints. Tessa stood near the far wall with her purse clutched to her chest. Brent stood between her and the door, one hand braced on the frame, his body blocking the only easy way out. Tessa looked at Lena like someone had opened a window in a burning room. Brent turned slowly. His smile arrived before the rest of his face did. "Lena," he said. "You lost." Lena lifted the radio. "No. She asked you to let her go." Brent's smile thinned. "This is a private conversation." "Not anymore." For 1 second, no one moved. Then Tessa darted forward. Brent reached as if to catch her, but Lena stepped into his path and raised the radio higher. "I'll call security." His eyes dropped to the radio, then returned to her face. The room became very still. "You better know what you're doing," he said. Lena did not know. Not really. She only knew what she had seen. She knew Tessa's hands were shaking. She knew Brent was too close. She knew a closed door could turn into a grave if everyone outside it chose to keep walking. So she kept her voice steady. "I know enough." Tessa slipped behind Lena and rushed into the hall. Lena followed her, refusing to turn her back on Brent until they reached the service elevator. Inside, Tessa folded into the corner. Her whole body trembled. Lena pressed the lobby button for her. "Did he touch you?" Tessa stared at the doors. "I can't lose this job." That was all she said. The next day, Tessa did not come in. By Monday, the crew heard she had resigned. No goodbye, no final shift, no call to pick up her check in person. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her locker was cleaned out by management before anyone from the night crew arrived. Gloria Bell crossed herself when she heard. "Another one," she muttered. Lena turned to her. "What does that mean?" Gloria looked toward the hallway where cameras watched without caring. "It means you keep your eyes open, baby. And your mouth closed if you want to keep eating." Lena should have listened to the warning. Instead, she went to Human Resources. Meredith Shaw's office sat on the 45th floor, where the carpet was cream-colored and soft enough to erase the sound of shoes. There were orchids on the windowsill, framed leadership certificates on the wall, and a silver sign behind the desk that read, "Every voice matters." Meredith herself looked like the kind of woman companies put on brochures. Smooth brown hair, pale blouse, pearl earrings, calm eyes trained to make people feel heard without ever promising safety. Lena sat across from her and told the truth. She told Meredith about the crying, about Brent blocking the door, about Tessa asking to leave, about the way Tessa vanished after. Meredith listened with folded hands. She nodded at the right places. She wrote things down in a leather notebook with a gold pen. When Lena finished, Meredith looked at her with soft concern. "I'm glad you came to me." For one dangerous moment, Lena almost cried from relief. Then Meredith asked, "Did Mr. Halloway physically assault you?" Lena blinked. "No, it was Tessa. I told you he had her trapped." Meredith tilted her head. "And Tessa is not currently available to confirm your interpretation of the event." "My interpretation." The gold pen rested across Meredith's fingers. "Lena, I am not dismissing your concern, but workplace situations can look different depending on emotional context." She was crying. "That is not what I asked." The office changed then, not visibly. The orchids stayed bright. The carpet stayed soft. The silver sign still caught the afternoon light. But Lena felt something drop away beneath her. Meredith continued gently. "Were you aware that Tessa had been struggling with performance issues? No. Were you aware that Mr. Halloway had been attempting to coach her?" Lena stared at her. "Is that what he called it?" Meredith's face did not move. "I need you to be careful with your tone." There it was. The first turn of the blade. Lena looked again at the sign. Every voice matters. For the first time, it looked expensive instead of true. Meredith promised to review the matter discreetly. 2 days later, Brent cornered Lena by the freight elevator. No camera covered that angle. She learned that later. At the time, all she knew was that he stepped close enough for her to smell mint gum and tobacco under his cologne. "You went to Meredith," he said. Lena kept both hands on her cart. "I reported what I saw." He smiled. "You saw nothing." She tried to move around him. He caught her wrist, not hard enough to bruise that first time, just hard enough to teach. "You're a cleaner, Lena. Don't confuse a mop with a microphone." She pulled free. He let her. That was worse somehow. After that, Monarch Tower began punishing her in ways too small to sound believable when said out loud. Her schedule changed from mixed evening shifts to isolated overnight work. Her assigned floors moved higher, farther from the lobby, farther from the other cleaners, farther from witnesses. Supply orders went missing. Her cart was left half-stocked. Trash bags vanished from closets she was responsible for. She was written up for incomplete work after being assigned twice the normal area. Meredith called her into HR to discuss her attitude. Once, then again. The second time, Meredith folded her hands and said, "Lena, people are beginning to notice a pattern of defensiveness." Lena almost laughed. People. That was how companies hid a single liar inside a crowd. Brent appeared in hallways where he had no work to do. He leaned in doorways while she wiped tables. He stood behind glass walls and watched her reflection. He hummed when he walked past. Some nights he said nothing at all. Silence became its own threat. The first bruise came from his fingers. The second came from her hip, hitting a supply cart after he shoved past her in a narrow hall. The third came from the fall she took when she backed away from him too fast near the storage corridor and tripped over a mop bucket someone had left where it did not belong. Each time she told herself it was not bad enough to risk everything. Each time it became worse. At home, Noah noticed the change before she admitted it to herself. He watched her flinch when someone knocked on the apartment door. He watched her check the lock twice, then a third time. He watched her stare at her phone after work like she expected it to accuse her of something. One morning he stood in the kitchen doorway in socks and an old Orioles shirt hair sticking up on one side. "You okay?" Lena was pouring coffee into a chipped mug. Her wrist hurt where Brent had grabbed her the night before. "I'm fine." Noah looked at the mug, then her face. "You always say that when you're not." She smiled because it was easier than telling him the truth. "And you always leave cereal boxes open, so maybe neither of us is perfect." He did not smile back. "Is it work?" She turned to the sink. "It's always work." Noah let the silence sit between them. Then he said, "You know I can get more hours after school." "No. You didn't even let me finish. I heard enough. I'm not a kid." She turned too fast. "You are 17, and you're not Mom." The words hit both of them. Noah's face changed first. Regret moved through it like weather. Lena looked away. For a moment their mother was in the kitchen with them. Not as a ghost, not as comfort, but as absence. Her favorite blue mug still sat on the top shelf because neither of them could bring themselves to use it or throw it away. Noah spoke softer. "I just mean you don't have to do everything alone." Lena wanted to believe that. Instead, she reached for her keys. "Lock the door when I leave." At work that night, she bought a black notebook from the little shop near the bus stop before her shift. It cost $3.79. She almost put it back. Then she thought of Tessa. She bought it. At first, she wrote only dates. October 14th, Brent outside freight elevator. Said I should learn when to keep quiet. October 18th, Meredith meeting. Said I appeared emotionally reactive. October 21st, camera near storage hall turned away again. October 28th, supplies missing from closet B. Reported before shift. Still written up. November 3rd, Brent followed me to parking level, waited in restroom until Gloria called. The handwriting was neat in the beginning, accounting student handwriting, careful numbers, clean margins. Later, the letters pressed deeper into the paper. Some pages had ink marks where her hand shook. One page had a stain from coffee or tears. She did not remember which. She kept the notebook taped beneath the loose lining of her work bag. Every night she told herself that if one person ever asked for proof, she would have something to give them. No one asked. Weeks passed. Tessa became a name no one said unless the hallway was empty. The other cleaners spoke around her absence. Gloria brought soup in a thermos and gave Lena half without asking if she was hungry. Marcus Reed. The overnight security guard once watched Brent step too close to Lena on a monitor and stood up from his chair. The next day, Marcus was written up for leaving his post. After that, he watched more carefully and spoke less. Lena did not blame him. Fear had rent too. One night in December, Meredith called Lena into her office again. It was almost midnight, but the 45th floor still smelled of fresh coffee and lilies. Meredith sat behind her desk with Lena's personnel file open in front of her. "Lena, I want this to be a supportive conversation." Lena sat without removing her coat. "That usually means it is not." Meredith's eyes cooled by half a degree. "We have received concerns about your conduct. From Brent, from leadership." There's that word again. Meredith closed the file. "You need to understand how serious this is. You have been increasingly difficult to manage. You isolate yourself from the team. You question instructions. You appear hostile when given feedback." Lena felt her heartbeat in her throat. "He hurt me." Meredith leaned back. "That is a very serious statement. Yes. And yet you have not provided evidence of assault." Lena almost reached for the notebook. Something stopped her. Maybe Meredith's calm. Maybe the way the office door was closed. Maybe the sudden understanding that proof given to the wrong person did not become protection. It became a map. So Lena kept her hands folded. Meredith watched her. "You are a bright young woman. I would hate to see you damage your future over a misunderstanding." Lena stood. "My future?" "Yes." Lena looked at the silver sign on the wall. Every voice matters. Then she looked back at Meredith. "You mean my job?" Meredith smiled sadly. "As I said, your future." That was the night Lena stopped believing anyone inside Monarch Tower would save her. The final week before Adrian found her, Brent became careless. Or maybe he had always been careless, and Lena had finally run out of ways to make excuses for surviving it. He waited near the storage hall after 2 a.m. when the floor was empty. He stepped from a side corridor as she pushed her cart past the executive kitchen. She tried to turn around, but he was already close. "You writing things down, Lena?" Her blood went cold. "I don't know what you mean." He smiled. "You always did have that schoolgirl look, like a woman who thinks a notebook makes her smart." She gripped the cart handle. "Move." Instead, he leaned closer. "You think Meredith doesn't tell me what you say?" That sentence did more damage than his hand ever had, because it confirmed the shape of the trap. Every word Lena had given HR had gone straight back to the man she feared. Brent touched the sleeve of her uniform, brushing lint from it like a husband might. "You made this ugly." "Not me." She shoved the cart forward, forcing space between them. One wheel clipped his shoe. His face changed. Not much. Enough. He grabbed her arm and pushed her hard against the wall. Pain cracked through her shoulder. She gasped. His hand covered her mouth before the sound got far. "Careful," he whispered. "You're getting emotional again." She bit his palm. He cursed and let go. Lena ran. Not elegantly, not bravely. She stumbled, caught herself on the wall, knocked over a bucket. Lost one shoe, kept moving. Brent came after her, not rushing because he knew the floor better than she did. He knew which cameras were blind. He knew which doors locked. He knew how long it took security to answer a call that management did not want answered. She reached the supply room because it was the only open door. She got inside. He caught the edge before she could close it. For a second they struggled without words. Then he slammed the door inward. The handle struck her ribs. She fell against the shelves, pain flashing white behind her eyes. Brent stepped in. The fluorescent light buzzed above him. His face looked almost bored. "That notebook," he said. Lena backed away, one hand pressed to her side. "I don't have anything." He hit the shelf beside her head. Bottles rattled. Paper towels tumbled down. "Do not lie to me." She thought of Noah asleep at home, of the electric bill on the counter, of Tessa's empty locker, of Meredith's gold pen moving across paper, turning pain into attitude. Lena did not know where courage came from. She only knew it did not feel like courage while it was happening. It felt like being too tired to kneel. She looked Brent in the eye. "You're scared of a cleaner with a notebook." His face went dark. The blow came fast enough that she did not see his hand until after her lips split. She hit the floor, tasting blood. Before she could get up, he crouched and grabbed her wrist. "You are nothing in this building," he said. Then he left her there. But he did not just leave. He locked the door. From the outside. Lena lay on the supply room floor, listening to his footsteps fade. For a while, she did not move. The room smelled of bleach and cardboard. Her cheek throbbed. Her ribs burned with every breath. Somewhere beyond the door, Monarch Tower hummed on, clean and bright and indifferent. She thought of screaming. Then she thought of who might answer. So she stayed quiet. Minutes passed. Maybe more. Time had become loose. Then she heard another sound in the hallway. Different footsteps. Controlled. Slower. Not Brent. The mop bucket scraped outside the door. A lock clicked. Light widened across the floor. And Adrian DeLuca stood there in a maintenance jacket, looking down at the truth his tower had hidden. Now, in the present, Lena pressed his handkerchief to her mouth and watched him process the story she had given him piece by piece. Not all of it, not yet, but enough. Adrian's face had gone still in a way that made the air tighten. Lena mistook it for judgment. "They'll say I caused trouble," she whispered. Adrian's eyes lifted to hers. "Who taught you to answer accusations before anyone makes them?" She looked away. His voice softened, but only slightly. "Lena." She hated the way her name sounded in his mouth, not because it was cruel, because it was careful. Careful made her want to trust him. Trust was dangerous. "I need to get home," she said. Adrian nodded once. "Then we get you to your car. You walk. I walk near you, not behind." She looked at him for a long second. Most men did not understand the difference. He did. That frightened her in a different way. He stood slow enough not to startle her and stepped back from the doorway. He took off his maintenance jacket and held it out by the collar, leaving space between them. "Your shoulder is exposed." Lena looked down. The seam of her uniform had torn. Purple bruising marked the skin beneath. Her first instinct was shame, then anger at the shame. "What do you want for it?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Nothing. People always want something." "Yes," he said. "They do." That answer was too honest to be comforting. Still, the hallway beyond him was cold, and her body had started to shake now that the worst was no longer actively happening. She took the jacket. Adrian turned his back while she slipped it on. The gesture was small. So small anyone else might have missed it. Lena did not. The jacket smelled faintly of rain cedar and expensive soap. It was too big heavy over her shoulders, warm in a way that made her realize how cold she had been. She stepped into the hallway. Adrian moved beside her, not too close. The camera above the corridor stared at the wall instead of the supply room door. Lena looked at it. "So you see it now," she said. Adrian followed her gaze. Yes. No one else did. His eyes stayed on the camera. They saw enough. The words settled between them. Lena did not know yet that Adrian owned the building. She did not know that the man walking beside her had judges who returned his calls, dock foremen who owed him favors, and enemies who crossed streets to avoid his name. She did not know that under his quiet face lived a history of blood and obedience and rooms where men begged softly. All she knew was that he had opened the door. All Adrian knew was that opening it was not enough. At the elevator, Lena leaned one hand against the wall while he pressed the button with his knuckle. The metal doors reflected them in pieces. Her bruised face, his still one, her body swallowed by his jacket, his hands hanging loose at his sides as if he were afraid of what they might become if he let them close. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. Lena stepped in first and moved to the corner. Adrian stood near the doors. The numbers began to fall. 42, 39, 34. Lena watched his reflection in the mirrored wall. "You never told me your name." He did not look away from the doors. "Adrian." She waited. "Adrian what?" A faint pause. "DeLuca." Her eyes narrowed despite the swelling near her cheek. "That name is familiar. Common name." "No, it is not." For the first time, something almost like a smile touched his mouth. "Then maybe you heard it from someone who talks too much." The elevator continued down, carrying them through the sleeping tower past the floors where Lena had been ignored, past the offices where Meredith had rewritten her pain, past the conference room where Tessa had cried behind frosted glass. When the doors opened to the parking level, Lena stepped out into pale fluorescent light. Her old blue Honda waited near the back wall, rust along one wheel well, a cracked tail-light, grocery bags folded neatly on the passenger seat. A little graduation tassel hung from the mirror, not hers. Noah's future one from a school event he had joked was too early to keep. Adrian noticed everything. The dent in the bumper, the tired tires, the way Lena checked the shadows before unlocking the door. "Is someone home?" he asked. "My brother." "How old?" 17. "Does he know?" She looked down. "No." Adrian did not ask why. That was the first thing she almost liked about him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a black card. No company logo. No title. Only one phone number printed in dark ink. She took it carefully. "If Brent comes near you, call." Lena looked at the card. "If I call, who shows up?" Adrian met her eyes. "I do." The garage seemed to hold its breath. She should have been more afraid of him. Part of her was. There was something in Adrian DeLuca's stillness that did not belong to ordinary men. He was too controlled, too watchful, too certain in a place where everyone else had made her feel powerless. But he had not touched her. He had not demanded the notebook. He had not asked what she had done to make Brent angry. That made him dangerous in a way she did not know how to name. It made her want to believe him. She opened her car door. "You're not maintenance," she said. "No, you work for the company." Adrian looked toward the nearest camera. The red light blinked once. Then the camera slowly turned away from them. Lena went still. Adrian looked back at her. "I own the building." The warmth drained from her face. Not relief. Horror. Because owners were not saviors in Lena's world. Owners were the people everyone lied for. She stepped behind the open car door as if it could protect her. "Then you're one of them." Adrian felt the sentence land exactly where it belonged. He did not defend himself. "I should have known what was happening in my own tower." Her voice came rough. "Yes, you should have." The honesty cut deeper than praise ever could. Adrian nodded. You're right. Lena searched his face, waiting for anger. Men like Brent hated being corrected. Men like Adrian, she assumed, probably hated it more. But Adrian only stood there beneath the garage lights, accepting the words like a debt. She got into the car. Before she pulled the door shut, she looked up at him. Don't make this worse for me. His eyes darkened. Not at her. Never at her. I'm going to make it worse for them. Lena did not answer. She closed the door, started the engine, and drove toward the exit. Hands tight on the wheel, his black card lying on the passenger seat like a promise she did not trust. Adrian watched until her car turned out onto the rain-slick street and disappeared into Baltimore's wet silver dark. Only then did he move. The softness left his face. He turned back toward the elevator, no longer bending his shoulders to look like maintenance, no longer hiding the weight of his name. Above him, Monarch Tower gleamed, as if it had nothing to confess. Adrian looked at the nearest camera. This time the camera looked back. Adrian DeLuca stood beneath it without blinking, his face lifted just enough for whoever sat behind the system to understand that the night had changed. A few minutes ago, he had been a man in a maintenance jacket moving through blind spots. Now he was the owner of every hallway, every elevator, every locked door, every polished lie stacked inside Monarch Tower. The red light on the camera blinked once. Adrian smiled without warmth. Then he turned and walked toward the security corridor. The tower was quiet at that hour, but not sleeping. Buildings like Monarch never truly slept. They hummed. They breathed through vents and wires. They held secrets in servers, in badge logs, and deleted files people believed were gone because a screen told them so. Adrian had learned a long time ago that nothing disappeared completely. Not bodies, not debts, not sins. Someone had hurt Lena Hart inside his building. Someone had made sure the cameras did not see. Someone had trusted the dark. That was their mistake. The night security office sat behind reinforced glass on the third floor, tucked beside a hallway that smelled of old coffee and warm electronics. Inside, a young guard leaned back in his chair with one sneaker on the edge of the desk, his phone glowing blue against his face. 3 monitors showed empty lobbies and silent elevators. The 4th showed the 42nd floor hallway frozen on a useless angle. The supply room door was not visible. Of course, it was not. Adrian opened the door without knocking. The guard jumped so hard his phone hit the desk. "Maintenance has to check in downstairs," he said, reaching for a clipboard. Adrian placed the fake badge on the desk. Then he reached inside his jacket and removed a second card. Black metal. Heavy. No photo. Only his name engraved in silver. The guard read it and went pale. "Mr. DeLuca." Adrian looked at his name tag. Caleb Wren. "Yes, sir. You did not see me enter this building tonight." Caleb swallowed. "No, sir. You did not see me leave the 42nd floor." "No, sir." Adrian stepped closer to the monitors. "And if anyone asks about the camera system, you will say it is under internal review." Caleb nodded too quickly. Adrian looked at him. "Do not nod if you are frightened. Nod if you understand." Caleb sat straighter. "I understand." "Good. Pull every camera file from floors 39 through 45 for the last 3 months. Caleb's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "That is a lot of footage." Adrian said nothing. Caleb began typing. The room filled with the frantic clicking of keys. Dates opened across the screen, access logs, camera maps, archive folders, motion records. Adrian stood behind Caleb with his hands at his sides, watching the building give up its habits. Most men looked at surveillance footage and saw pictures. Adrian saw timing, patterns, weakness, lies that thought they were hidden. Caleb opened the archive for the 42nd floor. Several blocks of footage were missing. Not corrupted, not random. Cleanly removed. Adrian's voice lowered. Who accessed the archive? Caleb opened the log. His face lost color. Authorized building management access. Names. Caleb scrolled. Brent Holloway accessed floor cameras 11 times in the last 3 months. Adrian did not move. Caleb clicked again. Meredith Shaw accessed them 7 times. The room seemed to tighten around that name. Meredith Shaw. Human Resources. Every voice matters. Adrian remembered Lena sitting on the supply room floor, blood on his handkerchief. Her voice empty when she said, HR already knew. He leaned forward. Export every log. Camera movement. Deleted footage. Recovery failure. Badge access. Shift change. Everything connected to Holloway, Shaw, Lena Hart, and Tessa Monroe. Caleb looked at the encrypted email address Adrian wrote on a yellow sticky note. That is not a company address. No. If this is an internal matter, should this not go through legal? Adrian bent slightly, bringing his voice closer. A woman was locked in a supply room tonight with blood on her mouth. Someone turned your camera away from that door, so you need to decide if you are a guard watching screens or a witness helping bury what happened on them. Caleb's hand trembled. Then he clicked send. Adrian straightened. Good choice. The first recovered clip came through 20 minutes later. It was not from tonight. It was from 6 weeks earlier. The screen showed Lena pushing her cart down a narrow corridor near the executive kitchen. Her hair was tied back. Her shoulders were tight. Brent Holloway entered from a side hall like he had been waiting. He said something. There was no audio. Lena tried to move past him. He blocked her. She tightened her grip on the cart. He reached out and touched her hair. Adrian's eyes went flat. Lena jerked away. Brent laughed. The clip ended 3 seconds later. Caleb whispered, There are more. Recover them. Adrian left before the anger in him found the wrong body. He took the elevator to the 45th floor alone. The mirrored walls reflected him from every side. Maintenance jacket, dark jeans, work boots, calm face, empty eyes. He had practiced that expression since boyhood. It had served him in courtrooms, back rooms, funeral parlors, and restaurants where men smiled across white tablecloths with guns under their jackets. Adrian's father used to say silence was the cleanest threat. Vincent DeLuca had ruled Baltimore through appetite. He took what he wanted, broke what resisted, rewarded loyalty with money and disobedience with disappearance. He believed workers were tools, women were leverage, and fear was the only language worth teaching. Adrian had spent half his life proving he was not his father. Not good. He knew better than to call himself good. Different, cleaner, colder, smarter. Yet when he saw Brent touch Lena's hair on that screen, the old blood in him answered. It wanted a chair in a windowless room. It wanted Brent's hands on the table. It wanted names, screams, and apologies no one would hear. Adrian closed his eyes until the elevator chimed. When the doors opened, he stepped into Meredith Shaw's world. The 45th floor smelled like polished wood orchids and expensive coffee. Meredith's office stood at the end of the hall behind frosted glass. Her door was locked. It took Adrian less than 10 seconds to open it. Inside, everything was arranged to suggest safety. Cream sofa, soft chairs, a glass bowl of mints, framed certificates, a plant beside the window. A silver plaque on her desk read, People First. Adrian stared at it. Then he turned it face down. He sat in Meredith's chair and woke her computer. Her password took longer than the door. Not much longer. Careful people trusted systems because systems made them feel larger than they were. Adrian had never trusted systems. Systems were built by people, and people always left fingerprints. He searched Lena Hart. The first document opened. Employee displays confrontational behavior regarding Supervisor Holloway. Adrian read. Lena had allegedly misinterpreted a private interaction. Lena had become emotional. Lena had difficulty accepting corrective feedback. Lena should be monitored for disruption to team culture. He opened the attached recommendation. Assign employee Hart to isolated overnight duties until behavior stabilizes. His hand tightened on the mouse. He searched Brent Holloway. Too many results appeared. Complaint from Tessa Monroe. Closed. Concern from Mariah Lane. Closed. Informal report from Gloria Bell. No action. Exit interview from Dana Kell. Restricted. Adrian opened them one by one. The pattern was not hidden. It was dressed in clean language. Employee discomfort. Miscommunication. Friendly supervision. No corroborating evidence. Decline to pursue formal complaint. Matter resolved internally. Adrian knew what resolved meant when people with power used it. It meant buried. Then he found the email chain. Subject line. Hart situation. Meredith had written to Brent 2 months earlier. She is still asking about Tessa. Stop engaging where cameras can see you. Brent replied. She should have minded her business. Meredith answered. Keep her nervous, not visibly injured. If she looks sympathetic, we lose the narrative. Adrian stopped breathing for 1 slow second. Outside the window, Baltimore Harbor glittered under rain and streetlights. Inside the office, the air went thin. Brent was cruel in the way stupid men were cruel. He left marks. He sent threats. He made messes. Meredith was worse. Meredith understood the paper trail, the tone, the useful softness of professional language. She knew how to turn fear into instability and pain into attitude. She did not hide violence with darkness. She hid it with policy. Adrian copied everything. Emails, personnel files, complaint records, shift changes, camera requests, internal messages. Then he printed the worst of it and left Meredith's office exactly as he found it, except for the desk sign. Hill first remained face down. Morning came gray over Baltimore. Rain thinned into mist along the harbor, silvering the streets and washing the sidewalks clean in the way cities pretended to begin again. Office workers hurried through Monarch Tower's front entrance with coffee cups and tired faces. No one looked twice at the man in the maintenance jacket entering through the loading dock. That was the gift of uniforms. They made people disappear. The basement break room smelled of burned coffee, damp coats, and microwave oatmeal. A woman sat alone near the vending machine stirring sugar into a paper cup. She wore the Navy cleaning uniform like armor. Silver braids pulled back from a face lined by work weather, and the kind of wisdom nobody wanted until it was too late. Gloria Bell looked up before Adrian spoke. You are not maintenance. Adrian poured coffee he did not want. No. Police number reporter, no. She watched him over the rim of her cup. Then you are trouble. That depends who you are. Her eyes sharpened. You are asking about Lena. I am. Then you are definitely trouble. Adrian placed one folded printout on the table. Meredith's email. Keep her nervous, not visibly injured. Gloria did not touch it. She read it from where she sat. Her mouth tightened. You should not have that. Neither should Meredith. Gloria looked at him for a long moment. That girl tried to do right. Lena Tessa, too. Mariah before her. Dana before that. The vending machine hummed in the corner. Gloria lowered her voice. People think night cleaners do not talk because we have nothing to say. Truth is, we talk less because we know who pays attention. Adrian sat across from her. What happened to Tessa Gloria's hand wrapped around the coffee cup? 19 years old. First real job. Sent money home to her grandmother. Brent started giving her special assignments. Empty floors, late rooms, places where the cameras looked away, and Meredith. Meredith made ugly things sound tidy. Gloria looked toward the door. Tessa asked to switch shifts. HR told her she needed to be more professional. Then Lena found her in that conference room with Brent blocking the door. Next morning, Tessa was gone. Gone where phone disconnected. Address empty. That is what fear looks like when it packs fast. Adrian absorbed that. Would you give a statement? Gloria laughed once without humor. I have rent, medicine, a grandson who thinks I am braver than I am. You are sitting here talking to me. That is not the same as signing my name. Adrian nodded. No pressure. That surprised her. He stood. At the door, Gloria spoke again. She kept a notebook. Adrian turned. Lena Gloria nodded. Dates, times, camera locations, things he said, things Meredith said after pretending to help. Where is it? Gloria looked at him as if testing the shape of his soul. Ask her. Adrian held her gaze. I will. The next person he found was Marcus Reed. Marcus worked overnight security and looked like a man who had once believed rules were stronger than paychecks. Broad shoulders, shaved head, scar along his jaw. Former Marine, according to the file Adrian had pulled. 2 children, divorced. 1 month behind on support. Clean record. Strong reviews until 3 months ago when the warnings began. Adrian found him near the lobby desk just after midnight. Outside, rain tapped softly against the glass entrance. Marcus looked up from the monitor. Can I help you? Adrian placed a small drive on the desk. I am trying to recover missing footage from the 42nd floor. Marcus did not move. That? So I think you saved a copy. Marcus stared at him. You need to walk away. No. Marcus stood slowly. He was taller than Adrian, bigger through the shoulders. It did not matter. Adrian had seen large men fold under small truths. You do not know what this is, Marcus said. I know Brent Holloway hurts women when no one is watching. I know Meredith Shaw makes complaints disappear. I know Lena Hart was locked in a supply room tonight with bruises she did not give herself. Marcus looked around the lobby. Keep your voice down. Why? Because I need this job. Adrian's eyes held his. So did Lena. That landed. Marcus looked away first. I reported 1 clip 2 months ago. Brent and Lena near the storage hall. I flagged it. What happened? Meredith came down herself. Told me I misunderstood horseplay between employees. His jaw tightened. She had tears on her face. Where is the clip? Marcus closed his eyes. If I give it to you, I am done. If you do not, she might be. For a few seconds, Marcus was not a guard. He was just a tired man in a marble lobby measuring his fear against someone else's pain. Then he took out his phone. I saved it because I knew they would delete it. He opened the file. The footage was grainy and silent. Lena pushed her cart down the hallway. Brent stepped out from a side door. He spoke. She tried to move past. He grabbed her wrist. She pulled away. He grabbed her again harder this time and shoved her back against the wall. Adrian watched without blinking. Brent leaned close to Lena's ear. Whatever he said made her go completely still. Then he walked away. Lena remained standing for 2 seconds before sliding down the wall, one hand pressed to her ribs. The clip ended. Marcus looked sick. I should have done more. Adrian's voice was quiet. Yes. Marcus flinched. Then Adrian said, Now you can. Marcus sent the video to the encrypted address. His hands shook after. Who are you? Adrian picked up the drive. The owner. Marcus went still. Adrian turned toward the elevators. Mr. DeLuca. Adrian paused. Marcus looked toward the upper floors. There was another girl. Tessa Monroe. If she is still in Baltimore, find her. Adrian nodded once. I will. At 2:17 in the morning, Adrian sat in a black sedan 3 blocks from Lena's apartment in Highlandtown. He had not followed her to frighten her. That was what he told himself. He had sent a man to watch from a distance after what she said in the garage. Then the man called. A dark SUV had circled the block twice. Brent Holloway's SUV. Now Adrian sat beneath a dead streetlight watching rain slide down the windshield. Lena's building was narrow and tired brick darkened by weather, one second-floor window glowing warm against the cold street. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered on the first ring. Lena. Silence. Then her voice low and tight. You knew it was me, I hoped. A breath trembled through the line. He came by my building. I know. The silence sharpened. How do you know? Adrian looked at the street where water ran along the curb in black ribbons. I had someone watching from across the block. That is not okay. He could have defended it. He could have said she was in danger. He could have said he knew men like Brent. He could have said protection always looked invasive to people who did not understand threats. Instead, he said, You are right. The line went quiet. I should have asked, he added. Yes, she said. You should have. I am asking now. Another silence. Was he really there? Yes. Her voice became smaller. I thought I was imagining it. I saw the headlights twice and told myself I was being paranoid. You were not. I hate that. Being right, being scared and right. Adrian closed his eyes. The old part of him wanted Brent in a room by sunrise. No police, no board, no questions wrapped in procedure. Just a locked door and enough pain to make a lesson permanent. Then Lena said, Please do not hurt him. Adrian opened his eyes. Brent's SUV turned the far corner again, moving slow through the wet dark. You think he does not deserve it? I think he does. That is not the point. What is the point? If you hurt him, then this becomes about you and him. Not about what he did. Not about Meredith. Not about Tessa. Not about me. Adrian said nothing. Lena's voice shook, but she kept going. I do not want another man making decisions over my life because he thinks he knows best, even if he thinks he is helping. That cut clean. Adrian had been threatened by killers, prosecutors, rivals, and men with guns under tables. None of them had stopped him like that sentence did. He looked at Lena's lit window. You are right again. A tired sound came through the phone. Does that hurt you to say? This time she waited. Yes. For the first time she gave a small laugh. Fragile. Real. Gone almost before he could hold it. Adrian felt it settle somewhere dangerous inside him. I can protect you without taking your choices, he said. Can you? He deserved the doubt. I can learn. Lena breathed slowly through the line. There is a notebook. Adrian sat forward. I know. Gloria told you. She told me to ask you. That seemed to matter. It has dates, times, things Brent said, things Meredith wrote after I met with her. I started keeping it because I thought maybe one day someone would ask for proof. I am asking. The light in her apartment flickered behind the curtain. My brother is asleep. I cannot talk long. Then do not. I am afraid. I know. No, she whispered. I mean, I am afraid of you too. Adrian did not answer too quickly. Good. She went still on the line. Good. You should be careful with men who have power. And are you a man with power? He looked down at his hands. Hands that had signed contracts, broken bones, held guns, and once held his mother's rosary after she died. I am trying to be a careful one. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Tomorrow, she said. I can give you the notebook tomorrow. Where? Not the tower. Name the place. There is a diner on Eastern. Blue sign. Opens at 6. I will be there. Adrian. Yes. If I do this, it has to matter. Brent's SUV rolled past her building one more time. Adrian watched it through the rain. His voice became very still. It already does. Lena hung up first. Adrian lowered the phone but did not move from the car. He did not send men after Brent. He did not make a call that would end with blood on concrete. He did not break the promise while the sound of Lena's voice was still warm in his ear. He memorized the plate. He sent it to Caleb to Marcus and to a private investigator who owed him enough favors to answer before dawn. Then Adrian DeLuca sat in the dark and watched the small lit window where Lena Hart was trying to be brave in a world that had mistaken her silence for surrender. By sunrise, the rain had thinned to mist. Adrian was still there. At 5:48, Lena stepped out of her building in jeans, a faded brown coat, and a knit hat pulled low over her hair. The bruise on her cheek had darkened overnight. She checked both directions before locking the door. Adrian did not approach her outside. He waited until she reached the diner first. The blue neon sign buzzed in the morning gray. Inside, Lena chose the booth in the back facing the door. Adrian noticed. Survivors learned exits before they learned trust. He entered alone. No men. No black suits. No performance of power. Just him, tired-eyed and quiet, carrying more darkness than he intended to show. Lena looked at the empty space behind him. You came alone. You asked for choices. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag. I did not say that. No, Adrian said, sliding into the seat across from her. But you meant it. For a moment she only looked at him. Then she reached into her bag and placed a small black notebook on the table between them. Its corners were bent. A rubber band held it closed. Adrian did not touch it. Lena noticed. You can take it. He looked at her, not the notebook. Tell me first. Lena looked at Adrian across the diner table as if those 3 words had moved something heavy inside her. Outside the window, Baltimore woke under a wet gray morning. Delivery trucks hissed through puddles. A bus sighed at the curb. The blue neon sign above the diner window buzzed softly, turning the rain on the glass into trembling light. She had expected him to take the notebook. Men with power took things. Names. Rooms. Choices. Silence. Adrian DeLuca sat with both hands visible on the table and waited. Lena rested her fingers on the rubber band wrapped around the black cover. I started writing after Tessa disappeared, she said. Her voice sounded rough from the split in her lip and the sleep she had not gotten. She had ordered coffee but had not touched it. Adrian had ordered nothing except black coffee, and even that sat untouched near his right hand. At first I wrote down dates because dates felt safer than feelings. October 14th, October 21st, November 3rd. A date cannot be called emotional. A timestamp cannot be accused of having an attitude. Adrian watched her face, not the notebook. Lena swallowed. Then I started writing what Brent said, where he stood, which cameras were turned away, when Meredith called me in, what she wrote after. I thought if I made it neat enough, someone might believe me. Adrian's voice was low. Someone should have believed you before you had to make it neat. Lena gave a small, tired smile. People say that after they see proof. The waitress came by with a plate of toast and eggs. Lena had ordered it because her body needed food, but when it arrived, the smell made her stomach tighten. Adrian waited until the waitress left before he looked back at the notebook. Lena slipped off the rubber band and opened to the first page. The writing was careful, small, controlled. She turned the notebook so he could see. He read without touching it. October 14th. Brent outside freight elevator. Said I should learn when to keep quiet. October 18th. Meredith meeting. Said my tone sounded hostile. October 21st. Camera near storage hall turned away again. October 28th. Missing supplies from closet B. Reported before shift. Still written up. November 3rd. Brent followed me to parking level, waited in restroom until Gloria called. Adrian's eyes moved line by line. Nothing changed in his face, but Lena saw the tension gather under his skin. He looked like a locked room with something dangerous inside it. She closed the notebook. You hate him. Yes. The answer came without decoration. What would you do to him if I had not asked you not to? The diner seemed to quiet around them. A fork touched a plate somewhere near the counter. The cook scraped the grill. Rain tapped the window beside Lena's shoulder. Adrian did not lie. I would take him somewhere no one could hear him apologize. Lena's hand tightened over the notebook. And Meredith. She would lose every room that ever made her feel untouchable. The honesty scared her more than a polite answer would have. She looked down at the table at the little pool of coffee where her cup had spilled a drop near the saucer. That scares me. It should. I do not want to become like them. You will not. You sound sure. I know what people like them look like. She looked up. And you. Adrian held her gaze. I know exactly how much of them lives in me. The answer settled between them with an uncomfortable weight. Lena did not know what to do with a man who had enough power to frighten her and enough honesty not to pretend otherwise. She picked up a piece of toast because her hands needed something ordinary to do. Adrian looked at the notebook again. I know an attorney. Lena almost laughed. Of course you do. She is not mine. But you know her. Yes. So she owes you. Adrian paused. She once did. Lena pushed the plate away. I do not want to be someone's favor. You would not be. You cannot know that. Yes, he said. I can. The certainty in his voice made her face close. Adrian saw it happen and stopped himself. He leaned back. I am used to solving problems by moving people into position. That sounds like a nice way to say controlling them. It is. She looked at him for a long second. You admit that too easily. I am trying not to lie to you. That was not comfort, not exactly, but it was clean. Lena stared at the notebook. What kind of attorney employment law? Criminal referrals? Civil action? Her name is Vivian Cross. She is direct, expensive, and very hard to scare. Does she work for you? No. Does she like you? No. For the first time that morning, Lena almost smiled. That makes me feel better. It should. She studied him. And if I say no, then I do not call her. That is it. You said no. You are not going to argue. No. Why? Because if I push you into help, it stops being help. Something in Lena's face shifted. It was not trust. Not yet. It was the faint surprise of someone who had expected a locked door and found it open. She looked out the window. A woman in scrubs hurried past with a paper coffee cup tucked against her chest. A man in a delivery jacket shook rain off his shoulders beneath the awning. Life moved outside the glass like nothing had happened, like Lena had not spent the night bleeding on a supply room floor. I am tired, she said. Adrian's voice changed. I know. No, you do not. He accepted that. You are right. She looked back at him. You keep saying that. I keep being wrong. This time she did smile. Small, reluctant, gone quickly. Then she pushed the notebook toward him. I will meet her. Vivian Cross kept her office above a pharmacy in Fells Point, not in a tower, not behind a wall of polished marble. The stairwell smelled like dust paper and the cinnamon gum someone had dropped near the second landing. The waiting room had 4 chairs, a water cooler, and a window overlooking a narrow street where wet brick buildings leaned toward each other like tired old friends. It was not impressive. That helped. Vivian Cross opened the conference room door herself. She was in her early 40s with dark hair pinned at the back of her neck and a face that looked calm because it had decided panic was useless years ago. She wore a navy suit, no jewelry except a wedding band, and she shook Lena's hand first. Not Adrian's, Lena noticed. Ms. Hart, Vivian said. I am sorry we are meeting under these circumstances. I am glad you came. Her voice held no syrup, no pity, no corporate softness. Lena liked her before she trusted her. Adrian remained near the door. Vivian looked at him. You can sit over there. She pointed to the far end of the table. Adrian obeyed without comment. Lena liked Vivian a little more. The evidence spread across the conference table slowly. The notebook, camera logs, recovered footage, shift records, Meredith's emails, personnel notes, Marcus Reed's saved clip, Gloria Bell's account recorded without a signature for now, Caleb's export files. Adrian placed each item down like he was laying weapons on a table and trying not to use them the old way. Vivian read for almost an hour. She did not gasp. She did not soften her mouth into pity. She did not tell Lena she was brave. She asked questions only when she needed clarity. What time did Meredith call you in on November 6th? Did Brent ever contact you outside the building? Who had access to the supply room keys? Did anyone else know about the notebook before last night? Lena answered what she could. When she could not remember, Vivian did not press. She simply wrote uncertain and moved on. At last, Vivian removed her glasses and set them on the table. Lena, what happened to you was not a misunderstanding. It was not office drama. It was harassment, assault, retaliation, witness intimidation, and a coordinated cover-up. Lena's hands curled in her lap. She had known. Of course she had known. But hearing someone name it without flinching made the room tilt slightly, as if her body had been waiting months for the right words and did not know how to hold them now that they had arrived. Vivian continued. You have several paths. None are easy. I will not pretend they are. Can they fire me? They can try. Lena looked down. If they do, then they make their position worse. With this evidence, any adverse employment action becomes part of the retaliation pattern. Adrian watched Lena absorb that. His hands rested loose on the table, but his jaw was tight. Vivian leaned forward slightly. They can call you unstable. They can call you difficult. They can say you misunderstood. They can say a lot of things, but they have a problem. What? They wrote too much down. Lena glanced at Meredith's printed email. Keep her nervous, not visibly injured. If she looks sympathetic, we lose the narrative. Her lips pressed together. She wrote that like I was nothing. Adrian's voice came from the end of the table. You were never nothing. Lena did not look at him, but her shoulders eased by a fraction. Vivian watched the exchange and said nothing. Then she asked the question no one had asked Lena before. What do you want? Lena blinked. I want this to stop. That is part of it. But I am asking something more specific. When this is over, what result lets you breathe? Lena stared at her. People had asked what happened, where, when, why she waited, why she stayed, whether she had proof, whether she had misunderstood, whether she had considered Brent's side. No one had asked what justice would feel like inside her own lungs. She looked toward the window. A bus hissed to a stop below. People stepped on carrying bags, coffee ordinary lives. For a moment, Lena envied them so sharply it almost hurt. I want him gone, she said. Brent. Yes. Vivian wrote it down. And Meredith. Vivian's pen paused. Lena's voice grew steadier. She knew. She made me look crazy so he could keep hurting people. She gave him my complaint. She changed my shifts. She wrote things in my file that were not true. Vivian nodded. Criminal complaint. Lena's breathing changed. Adrian saw her fingers dig into her sleeves. Vivian waited. Lena turned to Adrian. What would you do? The old answer rose in him so easily it almost embarrassed him. He would destroy them, not expose them, not sue them, not report them. Destroy them, pull apart the lives they had built around their own immunity, and leave them with nothing but fear. But Lena was not asking the monster his father raised. She was asking the man who had promised to learn restraint. Adrian took his time. In my world, men like Brent disappear into consequences that leave no court record. Vivian looked at him sharply. He did not look away from Lena. But that world does not give you your voice back. It gives me satisfaction. Lena's eyes held his. And this way you decide what is said. You decide when to stop. You decide what your name means in the story. The room was quiet. Lena lowered her gaze to her hands. I am tired of hiding. Vivian nodded once. Then we begin with a protected statement. I contact the district attorney through a channel I trust. We secure the evidence before notifying the board. We send a preservation letter to Monarch Tower. We request protection from retaliation. I also recommend a no-contact order against Brent. Lena gave a dry laugh. A piece of paper will not stop him. No, Vivian said. But violating it gives us another charge. Lena liked that answer more than she expected. Adrian did too. Before they could finish, Vivian's phone buzzed. She read the screen and her expression changed. Adrian noticed first. What is it? Vivian set the phone down. Marcus Reed was suspended this morning. Lena went still. Vivian continued. Gloria Bell's schedule was changed to basement trash rotation for the next 2 weeks. Lena, there is also a disciplinary notice in your employee file claiming missing supplies from the 42nd floor. Lena felt the room move away from her. The table, the window, Vivian's face, Adrian's hands. For one moment she was back in the supply room, knees on cold tile, blood in her mouth, the lock clicking from the outside. They were setting the story before she could speak. They were building the cage while calling it policy. Adrian rose halfway from his chair, then stopped. Lena saw the effort it cost him. His voice was low. Lena, breathe. Her lungs fought her. Then she pulled air in. Once. Again. Vivian's tone stayed steady. This is not the end of your case. This is evidence of retaliation. A strange laugh escaped Lena. It shook on the way out. They are so used to winning, they do not even know when they are helping me. Adrian looked at her, then really looked. There she was, not unafraid, never that simple, present. Lena stood. I want to go to HR. Vivian frowned. I do not recommend meeting Meredith alone. I do not want to meet her alone. Adrian stepped forward. I will come. No. The word stopped him like a hand against his chest. Lena looked at Vivian. I want her. Adrian accepted it, but not easily. Lena saw the struggle move across his face. That bothers you? Yes. Good, she said softer now. Then you understand how I felt every time someone decided what was best for me. Adrian lowered his gaze once, then nodded. An hour later, Lena walked into Monarch Tower through the front entrance. Not the loading dock, not the employee door near the trash compactor. The front. Rainwater glimmered on the marble floor where people shook umbrellas and hurried toward elevators. The lobby smelled of coffee leather and money. Security guards stood taller when they saw Adrian enter through a side door, but he did not approach Lena. He stayed near a marble column across the lobby, visible but distant, a shadow with a pulse. Vivian walked beside Lena with a leather folder in one hand. The receptionist outside HR tried to say Meredith was unavailable. Vivian placed a business card on the desk. We will wait. They waited 4 minutes. Meredith opened her office door in a white blazer, hair-smooth mouth arranged into concern. Lena, she said. This is unexpected. Lena felt her knees weaken. Then she remembered the notebook. The diner. Vivian's voice naming things plainly. Adrian saying she was never nothing. Vivian spoke first. We are here regarding the disciplinary notice placed in Ms. Hart's file this morning. Meredith's smile held. That is an internal matter. It is now a legal matter. Something flickered in Meredith's eyes. She turned to Lena. I am concerned about you. Stress can make people misinterpret events. Lena heard the old trap open. This time she did not step into it. My attorney will handle your concerns. Meredith's face tightened. Your attorney? Yes. The word changed the office. Not loudly, not dramatically, but Lena felt it. A small shift in gravity. Meredith looked past her toward the lobby where Adrian stood near the column with his hands in his coat pockets and his eyes fixed on her door. Recognition moved across her face. Not full understanding yet. Enough. She looked back at Lena. You should be careful who you trust. Lena held her gaze. I started with myself. Vivian placed the preservation letter on Meredith's desk. It required Monarch Tower to retain all messages, footage, access logs, complaint files, personnel records, disciplinary notes, security reports, and communications connected to Brent Holloway, Meredith Shaw, Tessa Monroe, Lena Hart, Marcus Reed, and Gloria Bell. Meredith read the first page. Her polished calm cracked at the edges. Lena expected victory to feel hot. It did not. It felt like space opening in her chest for the first time in months. When they left HR, Adrian waited near the elevators. He did not ask what happened. He looked at Lena, and she looked back. For once, she spoke first. I want the board to see everything. Adrian's expression became very still. Vivian closed her folder. Then we make sure they cannot look away. The private elevator opened without a sound. Inside the walls were mirrored reflecting Lena from every angle. Pale face, bruised cheek, Adrian's dark coat still over her shoulders from the cold morning. She almost took it off, then left it there. Not because she needed to hide inside it, because for once something warm had been offered without a price. As the elevator rose, Adrian stood beside her, quiet and controlled. Lena could feel the violence he was holding back. It did not frighten her the way Brent had frightened her. Brent's violence had been hungry and careless. Adrian's was disciplined, locked behind his ribs, waiting for permission it would never get. She looked at him in the reflection. You could have done this your way. His eyes met hers in the mirror. Yes. Why didn't you? Because you asked me not to. That simple no. The corner of his mouth moved without becoming a smile. But simple is not the same as easy. The elevator passed the 39th floor, then 40, then 41. Lena's hands shook, so she folded them together. Adrian noticed, but did not touch her. Why does this matter so much to you? She asked. His face changed slightly. Not enough for most people to see. Lena saw it. My mother worked in a restaurant when I was young, he said. It belonged to men my father did business with. The elevator kept climbing. She came home with bruises more than once. She always had a reason. Cabinet door, wet floor, clumsy hands. Lena turned toward him. I believed her because I was 17 and belief was easier than action. His voice stayed calm, but something behind it had gone far away. One night she did not come home. My father told me some women are born to make trouble. The mirrored walls seemed to hold the silence. That was the first time I understood I hated him. Lena whispered, I am sorry. Adrian shook his head. Do not be. I did plenty with that hatred. Did it help? He thought of rooms gone quiet, men gone pale, fear mistaken for respect. No, he said. It made the world quieter around me, not better. The elevator slowed. Lena looked at him for a long moment. I do not need you to save me. I know. Do you? He faced her fully now. I am learning. The doors opened onto the executive floor. Thick carpet swallowed the sound of their first steps. Framed awards lined the walls. Leadership, integrity, culture, excellence. Lena looked at the words as she walked between Adrian and Vivian. This time, the tower did not feel taller than her. Lena Hart stepped out of the private elevator onto the 46th floor of Monarch Tower, with Vivian Cross on one side and Adrian DeLuca on the other. The carpet beneath her shoes was so thick it swallowed sound. The walls were lined with framed awards, all gold trim and polished glass, each one praising a company that had nearly taught her to hate the word safe. Best workplace culture, leadership integrity, people first excellence. Lena looked at the last plaque as they passed. For a moment she saw herself reflected in the glass. Bruised cheek, split lip, Adrian's coat over her shoulders. Her eyes looked darker than usual, not empty, not calm, but awake. That was something. At the end of the hall, 2 men in plain black suits stood outside the main boardroom. They did not wear visible badges, but Lena knew they were Adrian's people by the way they looked at him without needing instructions. One of them opened the door. The boardroom was larger than she expected. Everything inside seemed built to make ordinary people feel small. A long walnut table stretched through the center of the room. Tall glass windows wrapped around 3 sides, showing Baltimore Harbor beneath a low gray sky. The city looked cold and beautiful from up there, like distance could turn every hard thing into scenery. At the head of the table sat Warren Pike, chairman of the board. He was silver-haired, thin-faced, and dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Lena's car. He looked like a man who had spent the morning learning that rot did not always smell before it spread. Beside him sat 3 board members, a corporate attorney, and a woman Lena did not recognize. Vivian had insisted on outside compliance being present. The woman had a legal pad open in front of her and a face that gave nothing away. Meredith Shaw was already there. She sat straight-backed near the center of the table, wearing a white blazer and a silk blouse buttoned to the throat. Her hair was smooth, her makeup soft, her hands folded neatly on top of a folder. Only her fingers betrayed her. One tap against the folder, then stillness. Then one more tap. Lena noticed. She had spent months being watched by people who thought she saw nothing. Now she saw everything. Brent Holloway entered 2 minutes later. He came in angry, not afraid. Not yet. He wore a navy suit instead of his facilities jacket, as if changing clothes could lift him out of the hallways where he had waited for her. His jaw was tight. His face was flushed. His eyes found Lena before he even looked at the board. For 1 second, he looked surprised. Then contempt covered it. What the hell is she doing here? The words hit Lena's body before they reached her mind. Her stomach tightened. Her hand went cold around the edge of Adrian's coat. Vivian stepped forward. Lena Hart is present as a complainant witness and represented party. Brent gave a short laugh. Represented party? Is that what we are calling unstable employees now? Adrian's hand moved. Not much, just a slight shift on the back of the chair in front of him. Lena saw it. So did Vivian. Lena did not speak. She only turned her head enough to look at Adrian, not pleading, reminding. He stilled. The old violence remained in the room, but it stayed behind his eyes. Warren Pike cleared his throat. Mr. Holloway, sit down. Brent looked at him. With respect, sir, I do not know what you think this is, but I have been dealing with months of false accusations from this woman. Vivian's voice cut through the room. Sit down, Mr. Holloway. There was nothing loud in it. That made it stronger. Brent hesitated, then pulled out a chair and sat. Adrian did not go to the head of the table. He did not sit beside Warren. He did not claim the room the way everyone expected a man like him to claim it. He took the chair beside Lena. That choice changed the air. Lena felt it before she understood it. People noticed where power placed itself. Today, Adrian placed his next to her. Warren looked at the others, then at Vivian. This meeting has been called to review serious allegations involving workplace misconduct, retaliation, suppression of internal complaints, unauthorized access to security systems, and possible criminal conduct inside Monarch Tower. Meredith leaned forward, smooth as polished stone. Warren, before this proceeds, I need to object to the framing. Human Resources has handled all employee matters in accordance with company policy. If Mr. DeLuca has concerns about procedure, we should address them through proper internal channels. Adrian looked at her for the first time. The proper channels are how you buried them. Meredith's mouth tightened. I do not appreciate that accusation. I did not offer it for your comfort. One of the board members shifted in his chair. Warren raised a hand. Enough. Mr. DeLuca has provided materials to outside counsel and compliance. We are here to review them. Brent laughed under his breath. This is insane. Lena stared at the table. Her palms were damp. Her knees felt weak, but both feet stayed planted on the floor. Vivian had told her before they entered that she could leave whenever she wanted. If she needed silence, she could take it. If she wanted to speak, no one else would own her words. Still, being in the room was harder than Lena expected. The people around the table looked expensive and clean. She wondered how many times they had walked past her cart without seeing her. How many times they had praised company values while women like Tessa changed shifts, quit jobs, and disappeared quietly into unpaid bills and disconnected phones. The outside compliance officer dimmed the lights. The screen at the end of the boardroom came alive. The first image showed a hallway on the 42nd floor. Lena appeared on screen pushing her cart. Seeing herself from outside her own body made her throat tighten. There she was, shoulders tense, head slightly lowered, trying to move quickly without looking afraid. Brent entered from a side hall. Lena watched his body take up the space. He smiled. Even without sound, she remembered the exact shape of his voice. Vivian spoke. This footage was recovered from a camera archive that was later accessed and partially deleted. The timestamp is 6 weeks ago. On screen, Brent stepped into Lena's path. Lena tried to move around him. He moved with her. He reached out and touched her hair. The room was silent. Lena watched herself flinch. She had forgotten that part. Or maybe her body remembered it so well her mind had hidden it under the larger things. The clip cut to black. Vivian did not pause long. The next video loaded. The storage hallway. Lena's fingers curled into Adrian's coat where it rested across her lap. She knew this one. Marcus's saved clip. On screen, she pushed the cart past the storage corridor. Brent stepped out from the side door. He said something. Lena tried to move past. He grabbed her wrist. Her wrist burned in memory. She pulled away. He grabbed her again harder and shoved her into the wall. Someone in the boardroom inhaled sharply. Lena did not look around to see who. On screen, Brent leaned close to her ear. Lena went still. Then he walked away. The clip continued. For 2 seconds, the Lena on the screen stood frozen. Then she slid down the wall, one hand pressed to her ribs. The video ended. Brent pushed back from the table. That is out of context. Vivian turned to him. Explain the context. His jaw worked. There is no audio. You cannot hear what was said. Adrian's voice was soft. We can see what you did. Brent pointed at him. You have no idea what you are interfering with. Adrian looked at Brent's finger until Brent lowered his hand. Meredith entered smoothly as if the room could still be rearranged by tone. Physical contact in the workplace can appear troubling when removed from context. Mr. Halloway has repeatedly reported concerns about Miss Hart's conduct, including emotional instability, insubordination, and inappropriate fixation on supervisory staff. Lena felt the old machine start. There it was, the clean language, the soft knife. Turn fear into instability. Turn pain into conflict. Turn truth into obsession. Her throat tightened, but before the feeling could swallow her, Vivian clicked the remote again. An email appeared on the screen. Meredith Shaw to Brent Halloway. She is still asking about Tessa. Stop engaging where cameras can see you. Brent's reply. She should have minded her business. Meredith's answer. Keep her nervous, not visibly injured. If she looks sympathetic, we lose the narrative. No one spoke. The silence changed shape. Warren slowly turned toward Meredith. Meredith. She lifted her chin. That message is being misrepresented. Vivian looked at her. Then represented. Meredith opened her mouth. For the first time since Lena had known her, nothing came out. Vivian clicked again. More emails appeared. Notes about Tessa Monroe. Notes about Mariah Lane. Notes about Dana Kell. Notes about assigning Lena to isolated overnight floors until her conduct stabilized. Notes about avoiding formal discipline against Brent because his relationship with a major donor made the matter sensitive. Warren's face hardened line by line. Brent stood. I am not sitting here for this. The two men at the door took one step forward. Brent stopped. Adrian did not look at the guards. He looked at Lena. She was pale, but her eyes were steady. Vivian touched the table lightly near Lena's hand. Lena, you do not have to speak. Lena heard her own heartbeat. She looked at Brent. He looked bigger in her memories. In the boardroom light, he looked like a man who had mistaken silence for permission for too long. She stood. The chair moved softly behind her. Her voice came out thin at first. I was afraid of you. Brent rolled his eyes. Here we go. Lena's hands trembled, but she kept going. I was afraid when you waited by the freight elevator. I was afraid when you followed me to the parking garage. I was afraid every time my schedule changed and I had to clean that floor alone. Brent leaned forward. You were disciplined because you were bad at your job. Lena shook her head. No, you punished me because I opened the door. The room went still. Lena looked at the board members now. 3 months ago, I heard crying from conference room D. I found you blocking Tessa Monroe from leaving. She was scared. She asked you to let her go. Meredith interrupted. Tessa Monroe resigned voluntarily. Lena turned to her. No. She disappeared quietly because you made silence easier than being believed. Meredith's eyes sharpened. You do not know what you are talking about. Lena's voice broke, then steadied. I know exactly what I saw. I know what happened after. I know you called me emotional. I know you changed my shifts. I know you wrote things in my file that were not true. I know you gave him my complaint. Warren looked at Meredith. Did you disclose Ms. Hart's complaint to Mr. Halloway? Meredith said, I followed internal process. Vivian answered. That is not an answer. Meredith's mouth tightened. Brent slammed his hand on the table. This is a setup. She is lying because she wants money. Lena flinched. Adrian felt it. The room darkened at the edges of his vision. For 1 second, he saw only Brent's hand, Brent's mouth, Brent's body leaning toward Lena as if the table were not there. The old Adrian rose inside him cold as harbor water. Break the hand, break the jaw, end the performance. Then Lena touched his wrist under the table. Not to hold him, not to plead, just enough to bring him back. Adrian looked down at her fingers. Then he opened his hand. Lena stood taller. I did not want money, she said. I wanted my job. I wanted to go home safe. I wanted Tessa to be safe. I wanted one person in this building to tell the truth. Vivian clicked the remote again. The screen changed. A woman appeared on a video call seated in a small room with white blinds behind her. Her hair was shorter than Lena remembered. Her face looked younger and older at the same time. Tired, drawn, alive. Lena's breath caught. Tessa. The woman on screen looked into the camera. "Hi, Lena." For the first time all morning, Lena almost broke. Tessa looked at the board. "My name is Tessa Monroe. I worked overnight cleaning at Monarch Tower until 3 months ago. I did not resign voluntarily." Brent's face drained. Meredith stared at the screen. Tessa continued, her voice shaking but clear. "I left because Brent Holloway cornered me in conference room D, and Lena Hart interrupted him. Before that, he made comments about my body touched my back when no one was near, and assigned me to rooms where I would be alone with him." She swallowed. "I reported it to Human Resources. Meredith Shaw told me I needed to be careful about misunderstanding friendly supervision. After Lena helped me, I received a call the next morning. Meredith told me there were concerns about my performance and that if I made damaging claims without evidence, it could affect future references." Warren closed his eyes. Tessa's voice thinned, but she did not stop. "I was 19. I got scared. I left." Lena pressed a hand over her mouth. Tessa looked directly at her through the screen. "You tried to help me. I am sorry I disappeared." Lena shook her head, tears slipping free. "You survived." Tessa nodded once. "So did you." The boardroom door opened. Gloria Bell entered next. No one had expected her in person except Adrian and Vivian. She wore her Navy cleaning uniform. Her silver braids were pulled back. Her chin was lifted. Warren looked startled. "Ms. Bell." Gloria ignored him and looked at Lena first. Then she faced the room. "I have cleaned this building for 11 years. I have seen women leave after Brent Holloway took an interest in them. I have seen complaints vanish. I have seen schedules change to punish people who spoke up. I kept my head down because I needed my job and because fear is easy to carry when you call it wisdom." Her eyes moved to Meredith. But it was not wisdom. It was cowardice. "And I am tired." Meredith looked as if she had been slapped. Marcus Reed stepped into the room behind Gloria. He looked nervous, but he did not hesitate. "I saved the footage because I knew it would be deleted," Marcus said. "I reported what I saw. HR told me to drop it. When I asked again, my reviews changed." The outside compliance officer wrote quickly. Corporate counsel leaned toward Warren and started to whisper. Warren raised a hand. "No more whispers." The sentence landed hard. He turned to Meredith. "Did you suppress complaints against Brent Holloway?" Meredith sat very still. "I managed risk." Adrian's eyes narrowed. Warren's voice went cold. "You managed victims." Brent looked around the table then, first at Warren, then at the board members, then at Meredith. He was searching for the old arrangement, the invisible bridge that had always appeared under his feet just before consequence reached him. Meredith did not look back. That was when he understood. He had been protected only while useful. Vivian placed another folder on the table. "All evidence has been secured with outside counsel. Copies have been sent to the appropriate legal authorities. A formal complaint has been prepared and Ms. Hart has agreed to provide a protected statement." Brent's face twisted. "You people have no idea who my family knows." Adrian leaned back slightly. The movement was casual. The room felt it anyway. "Call them." Brent stared at him. Adrian's voice stayed quiet. "Call everyone." No one moved. Outside the boardroom windows, rain slid down the glass in thin silver lines. The city kept breathing below them. Traffic moved. Sirens rose somewhere far off. Life continued with brutal indifference, as it always did. Then the boardroom door opened again. Detective Marisol Vega entered with 2 uniformed officers. She was in a dark coat, hair pulled back, face calm in the way of someone who had seen men like Brent before and did not need to be impressed by them. Brent Holloway. Brent stood too fast. "What is this?" Detective Vega stepped closer. "You are being detained for questioning regarding assault, harassment, witness, intimidation, retaliation, and destruction of evidence. This is ridiculous. Turn around." He looked at Warren. Warren did not speak. He looked at Meredith. She looked down at her folder. He looked at Adrian last. "You think you won?" Adrian did not answer. Lena did. "No," she said. "I think you finally got seen." Brent's eyes cut to her. For a second, the old hatred flashed there. The private face. The hallway face. Then one of the officers took his arm. The room watched him leave. No one rescued him. No one softened it. No one called it a misunderstanding. The door closed behind him with a quiet click. It should have sounded bigger. Lena had imagined something louder. A crash. A shout. A final thunderclap to match the months she had carried inside her body. Instead, it was just a door closing. That almost made it worse. Almost made it more real. Detective Vega remained near the table. "Ms. Hart, when you are ready, I will take your statement." "Not here, not in this room." Lena nodded. Her voice did not come. Warren turned to Meredith. "Effective immediately, you are suspended pending termination and external investigation. You will surrender company devices and access cards before leaving this floor." Meredith's face went very still. "Warren, I strongly advise you to consider the legal implications of acting rashly." The outside compliance officer spoke before he could answer. The legal implications began long before this meeting. Meredith's mask cracked by a fraction, only a fraction. But Lena saw it. The woman who had made her feel small now sat under the weight of her own words, trapped not by a locked door, but by the paperwork she had trusted to protect her. Warren looked at Adrian. "This company will cooperate fully." Adrian's face gave nothing away. "You should have cooperated with the first woman who asked for help." Warren had no answer. The meeting dissolved slowly. Board members gathered papers with hands that were not as steady as they wanted them to be. Corporate counsel spoke quietly with the compliance officer. Detective Vega stepped aside to call someone from the hallway. Gloria stood near the door, shoulders squared, but Lena saw her hands shaking. Marcus looked at the floor like a man who had finally set down a weight and did not yet know what to do with his empty hands. Vivian came to Lena's side. "You did well." Lena almost laughed. "I do not feel well." "That is not the same thing." Lena looked toward the chair where Brent had been sitting. The space was empty now. Just polished wood. Just leather. No monster in it. Her legs began to tremble. Adrian stood, but he did not reach for her. She noticed that too. For months, men had used closeness as a weapon. Adrian had learned to make distance feel like care. Lena walked to the windows. Baltimore Harbor spread below gray water, black roads, rooftops shining with rain. From up here she could not see Highlandtown. She could not see her apartment or Noah's school or the bus stop where she had bought the black notebook. She could not see the version of herself who had counted coins for groceries and told her brother she was fine. But she felt her. She felt every version of herself that had made it to this room. The girl with the accounting books. The daughter sitting beside a hospital bed. The sister pretending not to be hungry. The cleaner pushing a cart through empty halls. The woman locked in a supply room. The witness standing in a boardroom with blood still healing on her mouth. They were all there. None of them had disappeared. Vivian stood a few feet away. "Lena, Detective Vega can meet us downstairs when you are ready." Lena nodded but did not move. Adrian's reflection appeared faintly in the glass behind her. Not close. Waiting. She looked at him through the window. I thought I would feel stronger. His voice was quiet. You were strong before anyone watched. Her eyes filled again. I am so tired. I know. She let out a weak breath that was almost a laugh. You keep saying that, because I keep wishing I did not. The room behind them emptied a little more. Gloria came over and touched Lena's elbow with 2 fingers. You did good, baby. Lena turned. You came. Gloria's mouth trembled, but she kept her chin up. Got tired of hiding behind rent. Lena reached for her hand. Gloria squeezed once hard. Then Marcus approached. I am sorry, he said. Lena looked at him. He seemed larger in the lobby when she used to pass him at night. Here he looked human, tired, ashamed. I saw more than I said, he continued. I should have done more sooner. Lena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Yes. Marcus nodded like the word hurt. Then she added, But you did something now. His eyes shone. That does not erase it. No, Lena said. It does not. He accepted that. She respected him more for not asking her to make it easy. Tessa's video call was still open on the screen. Vivian walked over to close it, but Lena stopped her. Wait. She crossed the room slowly. Tessa was still there, wiping her cheek with the heel of her hand. Lena stood before the screen. I looked for you. I know Tessa said. Gloria told me. I thought I failed you. Tessa shook her head. No. You opened the door. The words moved through Lena like something warm and painful. She looked down, then back up. You deserved more. So did you. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Tessa said, I am not ready to come back there. You do not have to. I might give a statement. Only if you want to. Tessa smiled faintly through tears. That sounds like something your scary lawyer said. Lena glanced at Vivian. She is very scary. Vivian from across the room said, Thank you. Tessa laughed. It was small but real. The call ended a minute later. When the screen went dark, Lena stood facing her own reflection in the black glass. Adrian came no closer. Lena. She turned. He held out her notebook. Not against his chest, not hidden in a folder, not claimed. Held out. Hers. She took it. The cover was bent. The rubber band stretched. The pages inside were marked with fear ink memory and proof. For months, the notebook had been a place to put what no one wanted to hear. Now it was back in her hand. Not because the fight was over, because her voice was no longer trapped inside it. Detective Vega returned to the doorway. Ms. Hart Lena looked once more around the boardroom, at the empty chair, at Meredith being escorted out by security, her white blazer bright under the cold lights, at Warren Pike speaking quietly with compliance, his face older than when the meeting began, at Gloria near the wall, at Marcus by the door, at Vivian gathering files, at Adrian standing still watching her as if the next move belonged only to her. It did. Lena walked toward the door. Halfway there, she stopped beside Adrian. Are you coming? His eyes searched hers. Do you want me to? For the first time that day, the answer came without fear. Yes. Adrian nodded once. Together, they stepped into the hallway. Behind them, the boardroom light stayed on bright against the rain-dark glass, exposing every polished surface that had once helped the tower pretend it was clean. Lena did not look back again. The hallway outside the boardroom felt longer than it had before. The awards still lined the walls. Leadership, integrity, excellence. Words polished so often they had lost their fingerprints. But now as Lena walked past them with Detective Marisol Vega ahead of her and Adrian beside her, the words did not tower over her. They looked like frames, empty ones. At the private elevator, Vivian pressed the button and stood close enough for Lena to feel protected, but not trapped. Gloria and Marcus waited several steps behind. Warren Pike remained inside the boardroom with the compliance officer speaking in a low voice that had lost its boardroom confidence. Meredith Shaw was gone from the hall. Brent Holloway was gone too. Still, Lena's body did not believe it yet. Her heart kept waiting for the next corner, the next hand around her wrist, the next soft voice telling her she had misunderstood the shape of her own fear. The elevator opened. Lena stepped inside. Adrian did not follow until she looked at him. He had done that all morning, waited for permission, made space. Let silence remain silence instead of filling it with command. Inside the mirrored elevator, Lena saw all of them reflected in fragments. Vivian's steady face, Detective Vega's dark coat, Adrian's stillness, her own bruised cheek, the black notebook pressed against her chest. The doors closed. The elevator began to descend. No one spoke for several floors. Then Detective Vega said, "Ms. Hart, we can take your statement at the precinct or at my office downtown. You can have your attorney present. You can take breaks. If you do not understand a question, you say so. If you need to stop, we stop." Lena looked at the detective in the mirror. No one had explained things to her like that before. Not as if her limits mattered. Not as if the pace belonged to her. Vivian added, "I will be with you." Adrian said nothing. Lena turned slightly toward him. "You are quiet." His eyes met hers in the reflection. "I am trying not to make my anger the loudest thing in the room." The answer settled into her chest. She looked forward again. Good. The elevator passed the 20th floor, then the 10th, then the lobby. When the doors opened, the sound of Monarch Tower returned all at once. Shoes on marble, elevator chimes, raincoats rustling, coffee cups being carried toward meetings where people still believed the day was ordinary. But it was not ordinary. Not anymore. People turned as Lena crossed the lobby. Some looked at her bruise. Some looked at Adrian. Some looked away too fast, as if shame were contagious. For years, Lena had moved through that lobby in a Navy uniform with a cart invisible as dust. Now, the same floor seemed to notice every step she took. She hated that. She needed it too. Outside, the rain had softened to mist. Detective Vega's car waited near the curb. Vivian opened the rear door, then looked at Lena. "Ready." Lena almost said yes automatically. Instead, she paused. She looked at the tower behind her. 46 floors of black glass and money. For months it had held her fear inside its walls and called it procedure. Her hand tightened on the notebook. "No," she said. Vivian waited. Lena took one breath. "Now I am." At the precinct, Detective Vega did not put Lena in a cold interrogation room. She brought her to a smaller office with a round table, 2 lamps, a box of tissues left within reach but not pushed toward her, and a window looking over a wet street where traffic moved slowly through the gray afternoon. Lena noticed the door first, then the chair nearest to it. Detective Vega noticed Lena noticing. "You can sit wherever you want." Lena chose the chair facing the door. Vivian sat beside her. Adrian stayed in the hallway at first. Lena saw him through the glass, standing with his hands in his coat pockets, his face turned slightly away. He looked like a man built for locked rooms and hard choices, trying to learn the discipline of waiting outside one. Detective Vega set a recorder on the table. Before she turned it on, she said, "Where do you want to start?" Lena expected herself to say, "The supply room." The blow, the lock, the blood. Instead, what came out was, Tessa was crying. Vivian's hand rested near hers on the table, not touching. Detective Vega nodded. "Start there." So Lena did. She began with Conference Room D, the smell of steak and bourbon, the frosted glass, Tessa's voice saying, "Please." Brent's body blocking the door, the radio in Lena's hand, the way Tessa ran without looking back. From there, the words came in pieces. H.R. Meredith's office. Every voice matters. The first meeting, the first warning, the first bruise. The camera turned away from the hallway. The notebook. The missing supplies. The night Brent asked if she had been writing things down. Sometimes Lena stopped mid-sentence because her breath would not move. Detective Vega waited. Vivian waited. No one filled the silence for her. No one corrected her tone. No one asked why she had stayed before asking why he had been allowed to continue. Once Lena looked through the glass and saw Adrian standing on the other side of the hallway. He did not move closer. He did not knock. He only looked at her as if the fact that she was speaking mattered more than anything he could do with his hands. When the statement ended, the room felt both too small and too large. Detective Vega turned off the recorder. "You did well." Lena looked at the table. "I do not feel like I did anything." "You told the truth in a room where it could be recorded." Vivian closed her folder. "That is something." Lena was too tired to argue. Outside the precinct, evening had settled over Baltimore. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and shining under traffic lights. Adrian stood beside a black car, but he did not open the door for her right away. "Do you want to ride home?" Lena looked at the car, then at him. "Are you asking or arranging?" A faint smile touched his mouth. "Asking." "Yes." He opened the door. She got in on her own. The ride to Highlandtown was quiet. Vivian followed in her own car. Detective Vega had promised to call the next morning. Promises still made Lena nervous, but this one came with a case number, a badge, and copies. That helped. When Adrian's car stopped in front of her building, the upstairs window was lit. Noah was home. Lena looked up at it. "I have to tell him something. You do not have to tell him everything tonight." She nodded. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Adrian said, "I will not have anyone watch your building unless you ask." Lena turned to him. That mattered more than he knew. "What if Brent gets out? Then Detective Vega knows. Vivian knows. I know. But I ask first." She looked at his hands on the steering wheel. "Does that feel strange to you?" "Yes." "Good." This time, when she smiled, it stayed a little longer. Adrian watched her walk to the building door. She moved slowly, one hand on the railing, the other holding the notebook. At the top of the stairs inside, Noah opened the apartment door before she knocked. He must have been watching for her. His face changed when he saw the bruise in full light. "What happened?" Lena stopped on the landing. The old answer rose automatically. "Nothing. I am fine. Work was hard." She swallowed it. "Something bad," she said. Noah's eyes went wet. "Are you safe?" Lena looked back through the stairwell window. Adrian's car was still at the curb, but far enough away not to crowd the entrance. Vivian's headlights waited behind it. Then she looked at her brother. "I am safer than I was." Noah opened the door wider. That night, Lena did not tell him everything. She told him enough. She told him she had been hurt at work. She told him it was not his fault. She told him people were helping now. She told him the truth had names, and one of them was hers. Noah sat at the kitchen table in his old Orioles shirt, hands wrapped around a mug of tea he did not drink. "I knew something was wrong." "I know. I should have asked more. You asked. You lied." Lena looked down. "Yes." He nodded like he hated it but understood too much. Then he said, "You do not have to pretend for me." Lena almost broke at that. She reached across the table and took his hand. "I do not know how to stop." Noah squeezed her fingers. "Then start with me." In the weeks that followed, Monarch Tower became a building under examination. Not a scandal at first. Scandals were loud. This began quieter. Independent investigators entered through the front doors with rolling cases and serious faces. Outside counsel took over conference rooms. Security servers were copied. HR files were frozen. Badge access reports were printed and reviewed. Former employees received calls from numbers they did not recognize. Some answered. Some did not. Some hung up after hearing Brent's name. Some called back the next day. Meredith Shaw's office was emptied by people wearing gloves. The silver sign on her desk disappeared into an evidence box. People first. Gloria said someone should melt it down and make mop handles. Marcus Reed was reinstated with back pay. He stood at the lobby desk the first night he returned, shoulders stiff, eyes clearer than before. When Lena passed him one evening on her way to meet Vivian, he straightened. Ms. Hart. She paused. That name spoken with respect in that lobby felt strange. Marcus. I am not asking you to forgive me. Good. He nodded. Then she added, but I am glad you saved the clip. His face tightened with emotion. So am I. Gloria became part of the new safety committee after Vivian made sure they put the role, the hours, and the pay adjustment in writing. Gloria signed the paper with a look on her face that made the HR interim director sit up straighter. Night cleaners no longer worked isolated floors alone. Camera angles were audited by an outside company. Complaints could be reported through an independent line that did not pass through internal HR. Old cases were reopened. The building did not become good overnight. Buildings did not become good. People forced them to become accountable, one locked file and one recorded statement at a time. Lena did not return to work there. The settlement came after weeks of meetings, drafts, edits, and Vivian saying no in a voice that made expensive lawyers blink. It included lost wages, therapy costs, tuition support, and a written record clearing Lena's personnel file. When Lena saw the cleared file, she stared at it longer than Vivian expected. Vivian asked, "What is it?" Lena touched the page. "It feels strange, seeing my name without their words attached to it." Vivian's face softened. "Get used to it." Healing did not arrive like sunlight through a window. It came badly, unevenly. Some mornings Lena woke convinced she heard footsteps outside her door. Some nights she locked the apartment twice, then returned from bed to check again. The smell of bleach in a grocery store aisle made her leave her cart and stand outside until the cold air brought her back to herself. Adrian did not try to fix it. That was perhaps the first mercy. He asked before coming over. He texted before calling. He learned the difference between protection and possession, though Lena could see the lesson cost him. One evening they sat in the blue sign diner where she had given him the notebook. She had coffee. He had coffee he still did not drink. He asked, "Do you want advice, or do you want me to listen?" Lena stared at him. "Who taught you that, Vivian?" "Of course she did. She said I have a gift for making concern sound like an order. She is right. I know." Lena picked up her cup. "I want you to listen." So he did. She told him about the bleach aisle, about Noah watching her too carefully, about feeling embarrassed when people called her brave because most days she only felt tired. Adrian said nothing until she was done. Then he said, "I used to think fear went away when the threat did." Lena looked at him. "It does not." "No," he said. "It learns the shape of the room." She studied his face. "You sound like you know." "I do." She did not ask more that night. Later he told her about his mother in pieces. Not the clean version. Not a story made soft for her comfort. He told her about the restaurant, the bruises, the lies he wanted to believe because believing them let him stay a son a little longer. He told her about Vincent DeLuca and the day hatred became easier than grief. Lena listened. She did not call him good. He would not have believed her. She only said, "You are not him." Adrian looked at her for a long time. "I am not sure that is always true." "Then keep choosing." That became the shape of them. Not rescue, not surrender. Choice. In January, Lena returned to school. Her first class was business law at Baltimore City Community College. She arrived 20 minutes early and sat near the back, facing the door out of habit. Her new notebook lay open on the desk. No incident logs, no camera angles, no descriptions of where Brent stood or what Meredith said. At the top of the first page, she wrote, Chapter 1. Then she stopped and smiled at the simple beauty of it, a chapter that belonged to her. Noah made dinner that night to celebrate. The pasta was overcooked, the sauce too sweet, and the garlic bread burned at the edges. Lena ate every bite. Adrian sent flowers and a note. Not roses. Not anything dramatic. White tulips in a plain glass vase. The note had only one sentence. For the first page, that is yours. Lena read it twice and placed it beside her textbooks. Months passed. Brent's case moved through the system with the slow weight of real consequence. More women gave statements. Tessa gave hers by video, at first, then in person with Vivian beside her. Meredith fought, denied, reframed, and finally found that words worked less well when too many people had saved copies. Lena did not attend every hearing. Vivian reminded her she did not have to turn her healing into attendance. Some days Lena went. Some days she chose school. Some days she chose Noah. Some days she chose to sit by the harbor with coffee and say nothing while Adrian sat beside her close enough to be there far enough for her to breathe. One evening near the end of spring, Lena asked Adrian to take her back to the 42nd floor. He went still. "Are you sure no?" He nodded. "That is an honest answer." They entered Monarch Tower after business hours, not through the loading dock, through the front. The night guard looked up and stood. "Good evening, Ms. Hart." Lena stopped for half a second. For years, this building had not known her name. Now it did. "Good evening," she said. The elevator ride was quiet. Adrian stood beside her, hands relaxed at his sides. He did not ask if she was okay. She had told him once that the question made her feel like she had to perform being okay. Now he asked different questions. "Do you want the door open when we get there?" "Yes." "Do you want me in the room?" "Not at first." "All right." The 42nd floor looked almost the same. That annoyed her. The carpet had been cleaned. The lights were steady. The hallway camera now pointed directly toward the supply room door. A new lock had been installed, one that opened from the inside. Lena walked to the door. For a moment, her hand would not move. Adrian waited several feet behind her. She turned the handle. The door opened. The supply room was smaller than she remembered. That almost made her angry. How could something this small have held so much fear? Shelves lined the walls. Paper towels, soap, disinfectant, gloves. The floor had been replaced. The broken bucket was gone. The fluorescent light no longer flickered. Lena stood in the doorway. Her chest tightened, then loosened. Not all the way. "Enough." Adrian's voice came softly from the hall. "Do you want me to stay out here?" Lena looked at the shelves, the clean floor, the door that opened when she touched it. "No," she said. "You can come in." He stepped inside but stayed near the door. Lena looked around once more. "I thought it would feel bigger." "Does it?" "No." She breathed in. "It is just a room." Her voice caught, then steadied. "I am bigger now." Adrian said nothing. Some moments did not need a man's voice over them. Lena stepped back into the hallway. She left the supply room door open. Not by accident. At the elevator, Adrian looked at her. "Where do you want to go?" She thought about it. The diner, home, the harbor, school, anywhere. That was the strange miracle. There were places now, not just exits. She looked at him. Outside. They walked through the lobby together. Adrian did not lead. Lena did not follow. They moved side by side across the marble floor while rain began again beyond the glass doors. At the entrance, Lena paused and looked back. Monarch Tower rose above her black windows, catching the city lights. Once it had felt like a giant with its foot on her chest. Now it looked like a building. A tall one, an expensive one, a guilty one, but still only a building. Adrian opened the door and waited. The rain came down soft over Baltimore, turning the streetlights gold and the sidewalks silver. Lena stepped out first. Adrian followed. For a few steps, neither of them spoke. Then he asked, "Ready?" Lena looked at the city ahead of her. Wet streets, passing cars, harbor wind. Her life still complicated, still healing, still hers. She smiled. Yes. Behind them on the 42nd floor, the supply room door remained open.